You felt it, haven't you? That strange, hollow feeling after being in a crowd. You walk away from the laughter, the chatter, the music, and instead of feeling connected, you just feel drained, as if something vital was siphoned out of you. For years, you might have thought something was wrong with you, that you were the broken one, the antisocial one. But what if I told you that feeling isn't a flaw? What if it's a signpost, a signal fired from the deepest part of your mind that you are simply not built for the noise? Today, we begin a journey into the mind of the intelligent loner. And the first, most crucial piece of the puzzle is understanding the profound, almost gravitational push that drives them away from society. This isn't about a casual preference for a quiet evening. This is about a fundamental incompatibility with what the philosopher Friedrich Nietzsche called the herd. The agony of the superficial. Let's start with the most common battlefield. Small talk. To most, it's a harmless social lubricant. How about this weather? Any plans for the weekend? It's the glue of casual connection. But to a mind that craves depth, a mind that sees the universe in a grain of sand, these conversations are a special kind of torture. It's not just boring, it's an active drain. Imagine a master chef capable of creating culinary wonders, being forced to eat nothing but plain, nutritional paste, 3 meals a day. That is the experience of a deep thinker trapped in a conversation about trivialities. Each moment spent nodding and smiling at a topic with zero substance is a moment they can feel their true intellectual muscles atrophying. It is the mental equivalent of running on a treadmill but going nowhere, all while your real, vital work is waiting for you, calling to you from the silence you so desperately crave. Nietzsche and the echo chamber. This is where the brilliant and often terrifying Friedrich Nietzsche enters the picture. He had this powerful concept of the herd morality. Now, he didn't mean people in the herd were evil. Not at all. He meant they were comfortable. They find safety in shared, unexamined opinions. They graze on the same ideas, believe the same truths, and fear the same things. It's a collective consciousness that prioritizes belonging over authentic thought. For the genius, the independent thinker, stepping into this environment is like entering an echo chamber. They hear their own thoughts drowned out by the chorus of recycled opinions. They see people passionately defending ideas they haven't truly interrogated, simply because it's the popular thing to believe. To a mind dedicated to dissecting reality, this isn't just frustrating. It's intellectually offensive. It's a world built on copies of copies, and they are allergic to the inauthentic. The great mental bandwidth heist. Here's the most critical part. Your mental energy, your focus, your creativity, your analytical power is a finite resource. It is the most valuable currency you possess. Engaging with the herd, trying to fit in, pretending to care about the superficial. It all costs something. Every forced smile, every filtered sentence, every moment you bite your tongue to avoid disrupting the comfortable narrative, you are spending that precious currency. It's a constant, low-level cognitive tax. This is what I call the great draining. It's like you're a concert pianist, sitting at a grand piano, ready to create a masterpiece. But the room is filled with people blasting static from 100 cheap radios. The noise isn't just a distraction. It actively prevents you from hearing the notes in your own head. It makes creation impossible. The genius understands this intuitively. They realize their mission, whether it's to write a novel, solve a physics equation, or invent a new technology, requires every last drop of their mental energy. They cannot afford to have it stolen by the static of the herd. And so they make a choice. They don't leave because they think they're better than everyone else. They leave because they are fiercely protective of their work. They are guarding the sanctity of their own mind. Their retreat into solitude isn't an act of arrogance. It's an act of profound self-preservation. They are escaping the noise not so they can hide from the world, but so they can finally hear themselves think. This is the push, the desperate need to escape the draining, the static, the echo chamber. But what happens when they succeed? What truth do they find in the silence they fought so hard to create? Well, that leads us to a fascinating and painful dilemma, famously described by another philosophical giant. And that's exactly where we're going next. So, the deep thinker has done it. They've escaped the draining noise of the herd and stepped into the quiet. But the silence, as peaceful as it is, presents its own ancient challenge, a profound human coldness. The truth is, no one is an island. We are social creatures, hardwired for connection. But this fundamental need for others comes with a terrible, hidden cost. And no one understood this painful paradox better than the 19th century master of pessimism, Arthur Schopenhauer. He gifted us a simple story that explains nearly all of human social suffering. He called it the porcupine's dilemma. The story goes like this. Imagine a colony of porcupines on a brutally cold winter's day. They are freezing, slowly succumbing to the frost. To survive, they instinctively realize they must huddle together, sharing their collective body heat. But as they draw closer, something else happens. They begin to prick each other with their sharp quills. The very act of seeking warmth causes them pain. So they pull apart, and the cold begins to seep back into their bones. Driven by this new suffering, they are forced to try again, moving closer only to be wounded once more. They spend the entire day oscillating between these two forms of misery. The pain of freezing in isolation, and the pain of being wounded by their own kind. Schopenhauer argued this is the human condition. The cold is the emptiness and hardship of a life lived alone. The quills, well, the quills are us. For humans, they aren't physical. They are the judgments, the betrayals, the misunderstandings, the casual cruelties, and the emotional friction that is inevitable whenever people get too close. We all want the warmth of connection, but we can't seem to manage it without hurting one another. The highly sensitive mind. Here is where this dilemma becomes crucial to understanding the intelligent loner. It's not that they are immune to the cold. They feel that need for connection just as deeply as anyone else, perhaps even more so. The difference lies in their sensitivity to the quills. A mind that is wired for deep analysis, for noticing subtle patterns and nuances, is also a mind that feels things with a higher resolution. It's like having an emotional high-fidelity sound system. They don't just hear the music. They hear every crackle, every bit of feedback, every flaw in the recording. A backhanded compliment isn't just brushed off. It's dissected and its true, painful meaning is uncovered. A minor betrayal isn't just an annoyance. It's a data point in a growing mountain of evidence about the painful unreliability of human connection. They remember the sting of every single quill with perfect clarity. The logical solution. Over time, through painful trial and error, this analytical mind runs a cost-benefit analysis. It weighs the fleeting moments of warmth against the consistent, sharp pain of the quills, and eventually, it reaches a logical, if somber, conclusion. The huddle is not worth the wounds. But the story doesn't end with them choosing to freeze. That would just be misery. Instead, the wisest of Schopenhauer's porcupines discover a third option. They figure out a middle distance, a position where they can feel the gentle, radiant warmth of their fellows without being subjected to the sharpness of their quills. This is the code the intelligent loner lives by. Their solitude isn't a fortress of ice built out of hatred for others. It is a carefully calibrated, perfectly measured space. They learn to be polite, civil, and even warm-hearted, but they maintain a protective distance. They cultivate a rich inner life that provides its own warmth, supplementing the gentle heat they receive from a safe social orbit. Their choice to be alone, then, isn't a social failure. It's a masterful solution to one of the most fundamental problems of existence. It is an act of profound wisdom and self-protection. And this solution, this carefully chosen distance, gives them something extraordinary, clears their vision. From this new vantage point, they begin to see the world in a way that no one stuck in the painful huddle ever could. And that brings us to their greatest power, the power of the ultimate observer. So, our deep thinker has found their perfect distance. They are no longer freezing in the cold of true isolation, nor are they being constantly wounded by the quills of the huddle. They exist in a state of protected calm. From this unique position, this personal watchtower they've built for themselves, they are granted a kind of superpower. A power so profound it can seem almost terrifying to those stuck on the ground. The power of true, unclouded sight. To understand what this really means, I want you to imagine you're in the middle of a crowded city square during rush hour. You're being jostled and pushed. Your senses are overwhelmed by 1,000 different sounds, sights, and smells. Your entire focus is on navigating the next 5 feet in front of you without bumping into someone. You are a participant, an actor caught in the immediate, chaotic drama of the moment. Your perspective is limited, emotional, and utterly consumed by the struggle. Now, imagine we take an elevator straight to the penthouse of the tallest skyscraper overlooking that same square. What do you see now? The chaos disappears. The individual struggles vanish. From this height, you see the system. You see the elegant, intricate patterns of the traffic lights coordinating the flow of cars. You see the currents of pedestrians moving like rivers through the streets. You see the entire complex dance in a single glance. The chaos wasn't random at all. It was just a system you were too close to comprehend. This is the exact shift in perception experienced by the intelligent loner. Their solitude is the skyscraper. It elevates them above the fray, and from that height, they begin to see the hidden architecture of the social world. The recognition of patterns. From their watchtower, they begin to see the matrix. Human behavior, which seems so unpredictable up close, reveals its recurring patterns from a distance. They witness the same social dynamics play out over and over, just with different people in the roles. They see the predictable arc of an office argument, the subtle power plays in a group of friends, the way a charismatic leader can sway a crowd with the same ancient emotional tricks used for centuries. It's like watching reruns of a show they've seen 1,000 times. This gives them an almost prophetic ability to anticipate how situations will unfold, not because they are psychic, but because they have studied the script. The clarity of detachment. The greatest gift of this perspective is emotional objectivity. When you are not desperately seeking the approval of the group, when your self-worth isn't tied to being a part of the huddle, you can finally see the group for what it is. You are not swept away by the collective euphoria or the mob's anger. You are the meteorologist in a reinforced bunker, calmly tracking the path of the emotional hurricane, understanding its origins and predicting its destination, all while remaining untouched by its destructive force. This detachment allows them to analyze people and situations with a cool, piercing clarity that can be deeply unsettling to those who run on pure emotion. Reading the social source code. Ultimately, what they are doing is learning to read the source code of human nature. Most people only ever interact with the user interface, the polite smiles, the social conventions, the stated reasons for doing things. The solitary observer, however, sees what's running in the background. They see the primal drivers hidden beneath our civilized masks. The fear, the ego, the tribalism, the desperate need for validation. They understand the unwritten rules, the invisible hierarchies, and the silent contracts that truly govern our lives. This incredible, almost frightening clarity about the external world is the grand reward for their solitude. But it's not the final goal. All this observation, all this data they collect about the human system, it is all just raw material. Raw material for their greatest and most difficult creation. To build it, they must finally turn this powerful, analytical lens away from the world around them and point it inward. They must enter the forge. We have followed the journey of the deep thinker outward to the very edge of the crowd. We've seen them solve the painful paradox of human connection and gain a perspective of terrifying clarity. But the final destination of the solitary genius is not outward at all. It is inward. All the observation, all the data gathered from the watchtower, it was never just for sport. It was all raw material, fuel for the most difficult and important project of their entire lives. They must now turn that powerful analytical lens away from the world and point it at themselves. They must enter the forge. Welcome to the forge of the soul. This is not a quiet library or a comfortable armchair. It is a place of fire, pressure, and the deafening ring of steel on steel. The solitude they have so carefully cultivated is not for relaxation. It is for work. This is the sacred space where a true self is not found, but is deliberately and painstakingly built. The first act of this divine creation is destruction. Here, in the searing heat of total, brutal self-honesty, they take every belief, every value, and every truth they were ever handed by the herd, and they hold it to the flames. They test it. Is this idea truly mine? Or is it just an echo I absorbed? Does this belief withstand the force of my own reason? Or does it crumble into ash under pressure? It's a terrifying process of dismantling the prefabricated self that society gave them. Most people never dare to do this. It's much easier to live with the comfortable, ready-made answers. But the genius understands that an unexamined life is a borrowed life. Hearing the authentic voice. And then, in the silence that follows the destruction, after the echoes of the herd have finally died away, something incredible happens. A new sound emerges. At first, it's a whisper, faint and unfamiliar. It is their own authentic inner voice. For the first time, they can hear what they truly think, what they genuinely feel, free from the contamination of external opinion. This voice is now their guide. With it, they pick up the hammer of their own intellect and the will to begin the construction. From the molten slag of discarded beliefs, they begin to forge a new reality. They hammer out a personal philosophy, a unique moral code, a set of values that are internally consistent and authentically their own. This is the essence of Nietzsche's highest ideal, to stop being a creature and to become a creator of one's own values. the universe within. The result of this solitary labor is staggering. They don't just end up with a few quirky opinions. They construct an entire universe within themselves. A rich, complex, and resilient inner world, populated with their own ideas, principles, and beauty. This inner cosmos becomes their true home. It's the source of their unshakable confidence, their boundless creativity, and their profound sense of peace. The judgments and opinions of the outside world become like distant weather patterns, unable to disturb the climate of the world they've built inside. The Loner's Journey, a summary. So now the full picture comes into focus. The entire journey makes sense. It all begins with the great draining, the painful recognition that the noise of the herd is suffocating their soul, pushing them to seek silence. This push leads them to solve the porcupine's dilemma, learning to find a wise and self-protective distance from the inevitable pain of social friction. From this protected space, they gain the superpower of the view from the watchtower, seeing the patterns and hidden rules of the world with incredible clarity. And all of it, every step, was a necessary preparation for the final, ultimate purpose: to enter the forge of the soul and build a self strong enough and true enough to offer something genuinely new to the world. So, the terrifying intelligence of the person who chooses to be alone isn't really about a high IQ or being smarter than everyone else. It's about courage. The courage to walk away from the comforting warmth of the crowd. The courage to face the coldness of solitude. The courage to look at the world without flinching. And most of all, the courage to face themselves in the fire and undertake the lonely, agonizing, glorious work of self-creation. If you have ever felt this pull towards solitude, understand that it is not an affliction. It is not a weakness. It is a calling. Your solitude is not an empty room. It is your workshop, your laboratory, and your sacred space. It is the place where you are building your own universe. If this journey resonated with the path you find yourself on, hit that subscribe button and join our community as we continue to explore the depths of the human mind. And now, I have a genuine question for you. Which stage of this four-part journey, the draining, the porcupine's dilemma, the watchtower, or the forge, do you feel you are in right now in your own life? There is no right or wrong answer. Let's share our experiences and learn from each other in the comments below. Thank you for watching.